Hello, ladies. I hope everybody's doing great. Welcome from sunny Boston, Massachusetts. We are having a gorgeous day today. So let's get to it. All right. So we're going to talk about self esteem, self worth, self confidence, because there is a big difference between the three of them. And sometimes we hear these words getting thrown around all the time, but really, what do they really mean? So for me, self esteem is really about how much you appreciate yourself regardless of the circumstance. Um, it's also influenced by external factors like success, relationships, feedback from others, which technically, in my opinion, we need to like revamp that because really all that you need comes from within yourself. And when we start doing that whole external thing of validation of success by awards or people or what somebody says or somebody does, and that feedback comes from others, now we're outsourcing our self-esteem. And that can get really muddy really quick. And it can cause you not to really have a good self-esteem because of that outsourcing factor. So what you really, in my opinion, and what I've done and I keep doing, is getting it back to me. Like, no matter what they say, think, or feel, it doesn't affect my self-esteem because that's just their opinions. That's just their thoughts. And their thoughts and their beliefs are reflective of how they feel about themselves. And then they project those onto other people. Even if it's sometimes something great, that's great to hear. We all want to hear praise, but or hear nice things, or hear, oh, you look beautiful. But at the end of the day, if you look and feel beautiful within yourself, then what you're just acknowledging what they're saying and saying, yes, they are right, without feeling like you're snotty or self-absorbed or whatever. That's just good self-esteem. The other thing too is when you get self-esteem caught up in it being outsourced, is it can fluctuate way too much based off of your achievements or your setbacks. So when you can kind of use your internal dialogue and your internal source and the internal story that you tell yourself and improve that over and over and over again, you build a better and better and stronger foundation for your own self-esteem. So when you maybe didn't get that promotion, or you didn't get the A on that test, or you didn't achieve what you were hoping to achieve, it doesn't knock you back 7 pegs or throw you into victim mode or throw you left or right. Like, you're able to say, okay, this is just a circumstance of something that happened, and all the lesson is teaching me is that I have to just change how I'm doing something, or maybe it's not my time, or maybe it's part of a bigger plan that I'm really not supposed to achieve this because there's actually something that's going to be happening that's going to be great, that's going to send me another direction. So one of the things with self-esteem is like, the more, like I said, the more that you can produce it internally. And one of the biggest ways to do that too is, again, I've been there, so I know this really well, is you got to get rid of the ugly talk, like the bashing of yourself. And we've all been there, or we have, or judging of ourselves or criticizing ourselves. Like I said, we talk about this a lot on this channel, but it's so important. We've got to remove all the weeds from our mind that, one, aren't ours, or one we've learned, or conditioning from other people, or like all of the garbage that has come into us and the conditioning that's come into us. It is a massive weed fest. And it's our responsibility as adults to take that garden of weeds and rip it all apart and dig out the roots and clean it out and plant new seeds, so you can really have a great self-esteem based off of the things that you're planting in your mind, you're planting in your garden of what's important to you. So the more we can foster that, and the more that we can go through the emotions and feel what we need to feel, the stronger that will be for self-esteem. And when we have really good self-esteem, then we feel like we're enough because we were born enough. There was never a question of that. But again, it's society, it's being women in a society that we were seen as less than. If, and then you add all your own ingredients of, I have dyslexia, you may have ADHD, somebody else may have this, somebody else may have this, and again, then there's all these other sticky notes that go on with those things too. So weed out the garden, plant your own seeds, and what every seed that you plant means to you. Know what it means to you. Because when you know what it means to you, and it has depth and within, you're more likely to water it, give it sun, nurture it, and take care of it so you can foster a really good foundation self-esteem. Okay, so we're going to move on to self-worth. Self-worth is um, and involves an inherent belief that you are valuable, that you're deserving of love, regardless of your actions and how other people perceive you. And this is something that I struggled with so much. And I'm going to just talk for a second about some astrology here. One of the things that I learned, and I really recommend everybody do this, is we all have a Chiron, and Chiron is a wound. And again, you don't have to believe in astrology. I have a really good friend of mine who didn't believe in any of this. And I told her, I said, just take a look at yours. And when she looked at her, she was like, oh my God, this stuff is so accurate. So, okay, so back to a second here. So it's called Chiron, and it's a wound that we all have. And it will be in a different place in your chart, in one of the 12 zodiacs, and it will be in a house that has a different symbol to it. And check out your Chiron wound, because there are a lot of women that are around my age bracket, which is, I am 52 right now, that have it in Aries, or they have it in Taurus. And this is all about self worth, that you feel like you need to earn love. And when I learned what my Chiron wound was, and again, you don't have to believe in any of this, but for me personally, I found this so fascinating, and it was so helpful for me, because I've always believed I had to earn love. I always believed that it's not something that's just given. That my actions were like, if I do this, then I'm going to receive this. And that really tied into my self-worth. And so if you struggle with thinking like you need to earn love, you don't. I was like, what? You don't? No, you don't. Love is just something that's given. It's something that you just can receive by being who you are. There's nothing special that you have to be. There's no one special that you have to be. You are just worthy of love just by being here on this planet. Isn't that? I was like, wow, that's amazing. And when I realized that, I found also that I didn't need to earn it for myself. That like I could give it and receive it with so much more flow that comes into play with it. And the other thing too is when you're able to give that self-love and self-acceptance, and your self-esteem gets going, your self-worth really starts to change and bloom into something really magnificent. And again, it might be something that you have to work on for a long time. I'm still working on it. I'm always working on it, because it was such a massive part of me that felt like I wasn't worthy of it. Like, and that's why I was a people pleaser, because I was outsourcing it to everybody under the sun. And when you take back your power, and you take back your self-worth, and you learn to say no, and you learn to understand that you don't have to do anything to receive that. And you can give it to yourself by just being who you are, and that you're always a work in progress, but you're still a beautiful, beautiful human being, even even at every level that you are. Even when you're in your ugly phase of like you're wearing last night's makeup and your hair is a mess, you are still gorgeous inside and out. So just remember that. So yeah, so that would be one of the things, like I would just say check it out. For me, I found it really super interesting and it really hit home. Um, so I would say check out your Chiron wound and see what you discover there. And you might be really, really surprised. I was shocked. And there's also great books out there to how to work with it and how to heal it and things like that. And there's great other YouTube videos that you can look at it too. Um, so the other thing is self-confidence. Now, self-confidence relates to your belief in your ability and you're able to accomplish and face challenges. So, but if you're lacking self-esteem and you're lacking self-worth, it's hard to have self-confidence. And sometimes, like what came into play for me is I would come off super confident. And in some areas of your life, you might be a rock star. But in other areas of your life, you're not. So you could be a rock star at work, but you don't feel a rock star in your house or in your marriage or in your relationships. Or you could feel vice versa. Or you could feel like you're not really a rock star anywhere at the moment, but that can change. You can definitely become a rock star. There's no question that. Um, but self confidence really is about showing yourself by taking action. And action can be really baby steps. It could be, you know, learning to say no. That that one is huge. One of the things that I'll say that comes into play with this that I experienced, and maybe you may have felt the same way, and this could be helpful for you, is what I discovered, like I was saying, I outsourced so much to everybody that how could I really have self confidence when I was never showing myself that I could do certain things. I mean, again, there was lots that I've done and overcome, and I have massive amounts of resiliency and things like that. But when it came to like my relationships, I would say really is where it came into play for me. Like when it came into making my parents happy or making my grandparents happy or outsourcing who should I marry because I didn't trust myself. Like I lacked self-confidence in areas that I felt like other people were going to judge me. And maybe partially because I didn't want the responsibility if I effed it up, because I felt like I had effed up enough things in my life, or other people fed that to me, right? And at the end of the day, they were all just my lessons, you know. So so that's one of the things to think about is like what would what would having self-esteem look like and feel like to you? I mean, it might be great to journal about that if you're into journaling. You know, if I had great self esteem, I would feel this way no matter what circumstances happen. And when my husband or my spouse or my girlfriend or my boyfriend says, or my boss says XYZ, it's not going to phase me anymore because I feel this way about me regardless of what they do. Or I have self worth and I'm building my self worth because I am enough. I am enough. And just even keep saying that to yourself, and say it in the mirror is even better. Um, but I am enough. I am lovable. I am beautiful inside and out. I am a good person. I am all of these things. So I am worthy because was brought here by a source way greater than myself to do something here and impact people's lives by being a mom or being a sister or being an auntie or being a friend or being the best version of myself for myself is huge. And when you do those things, now the confidence shows up. Now it's, I'm not defined by the labels anymore. I I now govern what goes on internal. I govern what is said externally. I govern this whole being of me, and I radiate the self-confidence because it comes from within myself, and you will shine, and people will say to you, you look different. Did you cut your hair? Did you do something? No, it's because you're glowing from the inside out, because that self-love is radiating, that self-esteem is radiating, self-worth is radiating. And that's why it's so important to get rid of all the weeds that we've had throughout our lives, through our conditioning. So the beautiful being that you are, no matter what's going on in your life, can really shine for yourself. For yourself. So I hope this video was helpful. If you liked it, please hit like. If you're liking this content, please hit subscribe. If you want me to make videos about other things that you could find helpful, please write them in the comments. I'm here to support you. You've got this. Baby steps. Rome wasn't built in a day. You've got this. If I can do it, you can too.